basically started in the late 1990s looking at diversity while I was working and studying in the UK, coming from an equal opportunity perspective. And works by Gower and Fullerton made me focus on a new paradigm at the time called diversity management. During that time I was looking or focusing predominantly on cultural diversity, and then while working in Canada for 4 years, I got involved in other areas of diversity, if you want, including First Nation Indians, people with disabilities, and again, one aspect remaining cultural diversity. And then coming back here to France, or to Europe, and then in particular France, I refocused on a more generic aspect of diversity, looking at frameworks from a more general perspective. And then with the opening, or with the creation of our chair, we had to cover numerous different aspects, from gender to culture to disability. And that way I'm talking about Junko Takaki and myself, have a rather global perspective when it comes to diversity. And recently we've been working with a network of people from around the world on, again, different gender aspects. We started 3 years ago with an academic conference that was published as a book on multinational, international perspectives, diversity in many different countries. Last year we looked at a particular concept of diversity, looking at quotas. I think that topic is extremely current right now, in particular within the European context, when we look at boardroom membership of women and quota systems. So we used gender as a vehicle to really discuss internationally, or with experts from around the world, quota systems and affirmative action policies. And this year we moved into the area of responsible leadership, with a link, or in relationship with workforce diversity and the uncertainty that we're experiencing right now. Well, I think over the last couple of years, throughout the economic crisis, we've seen companies shifting back, numerous companies shifting back on their investment in particular in more social responsible activities, activities that have the goal to do good without necessarily having the related aspect of doing well at the same time. So creating an economic value while at the same time creating a shared value within, let's say, the community that they're operating in. There are plenty of examples. One was just before the economic crisis, I went to a major car manufacturer in Germany, and great promotion of their gender initiative, because, as you probably know, in the car manufacturing industry, you have very few female engineers, female women in top management positions, and that's what they try to focus on. And just at the height of the crisis, I talked to that individual again in charge of that initiative, and it was basically not cancelled but put on hold, because there were other priorities in that industry that were more current and more important at the time. So in a way, I would say that a lot of purely socially responsible or corporate social responsible actions throughout the economic crisis lost their priority. I think one of the key aspects is the sustainability aspect. In other words, yes, in the short term, you might lose money, you might not have that economic growth or value from some sort of diversity or CSR-related activity. But in the long term, I think companies have the competitive advantage when they create an increasingly diverse workforce that is led by some sort of responsible leadership role of managers.
Mm-hmm. Teams work better when they're more diverse, that kind of thing?
Well, I think there have been plenty of arguments for greater diversity, starting with greater creativity, greater innovation. People with different backgrounds bring different ideas, have different approaches towards problem solving. There's the argument of meeting the market that you're serving, or matching the market that you're serving. If you operate in an environment in which you have a particular market, it is helpful to have people that know that market and, sometimes we argue, look like that market, or know what the market needs are because they belong to that particular group of clients, if you want. There's the aspect of discrimination or anti-discrimination. You save yourself a lot of money, as many companies probably know by today, that have been in legal lawsuits when it comes to discrimination cases or cases of unfair treatment of employees due to their backgrounds or due to their belonging to a particular ethnic minority. And one last aspect that you could argue is diversity brings in a much more open-minded kind of environment, but this requires an organization that is in itself, as a culture, open-minded and accompanying when it comes to bringing in people who are different. It's an interesting point when you say meeting quotas. I think there are companies out there that probably meet quotas. Take the example of people with disabilities. There are plenty of companies that, let's say France, where you have the law that states, if you have more than 20 employees, you require to have a 6% participation of people with disabilities. Now, there probably, as Ashe Fippe will tell you, there are plenty of companies that achieve those quotas. When you look at where those people are, it's a different ball game. In other words, they might be in a very operational level, but rarely some of them will go up in the career ladder. So successful companies measuring them in terms of achieving quotas, I don't think is necessarily the right approach. We're working with companies such as L'Oreal and Deloitte, which take in particular L'Oreal with its investment in financial and human resources, takes a particular stance when it comes to managing and working with a diverse workforce. And this is where I see a kind of indicator, how much do you really invest in terms of people working on diversity? Is it just a byproduct of the HR department, or is it actually truly a director at a senior level that is focusing on diversity, who has probably a team around him that revisit and revise recruitment policies, promotion policies, invest in training activities, etc. So for me, there's quotas as such probably don't make necessarily a good indicator.